That's.
I'd like to call to order the February 3rd, 2026 meeting of the Kalamazoo Lake Harbor Authority. I'd like to start out with a roll call. Ryan?
Yes.
I got it.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Yep. Holly Engel, Sue Guevara, David Ignasiak. Is that close? No. Okay, I got, then I took it off the old stuff on the web. Dick Waskins, Jeff
Present.
West,
Here.
Chris Raphael, okay.
Here.
and I'd like to just maybe take a moment at this time since we do have a new member. We have actually two new members from the city of Douglas. But I see that Jeff is here tonight and maybe you'd like to do a short little introduction and why you want to be part of the authority.
I have lived here in this area for 5 years, and that's the first thing I ever fell in love with was the lake. And I used to manage Wickwood Inn, so having people enjoy that lake during the summer with all the guests that came in and such was always a thing. And now being a realtor, it always comes up. It affects housing prices and just all kinds of things, the CVB. I mean, it's just everything that our communities have. That's what we have in common. And I think it's wonderful. And being a new council member, I'm just eager and ready to help wherever I can.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Welcome. Next on,
Sue is on up there. She's new member too.
where do you see Sue? Oh, Sue. Oh, Sue. Sorry. Hi. Would you like to introduce yourself, Sue?
Thanks, Dick. Sue Guevara. I live in Douglas. I've lived here for a while. I'm sorry I'm not there. I'm just not feeling great. I was asked to join this board by the mayor, Kathy North, who happens to be my neighbor. So that's why I'm on it. I'm also with the Douglas Harbor Authority, and I've been around here for quite a few years, and I love the lake. I love the river. I love everything about the water around here. So anything I can do, becoming more educated in how we can make Saugatuck Douglas a great place to come and visit and enjoy.
Well, thank you, Sue. I appreciate you volunteering to be on the committee. Next thing on the agenda is the approval of the agenda, the February 3rd, 2026 meeting agenda. Can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The next on the agenda is the approval of our December 9th meeting minutes. Everybody's had a chance to take a look at those. And if there are no other changes to that anybody wants to make, if we could have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes have been approved. 5 on the agenda is approval of invoices. We have no invoices per se. The cities have been graciously taking care of our expenses for us, and we appreciate that. Next on the agenda is public communications. Ryan, do we have any written communications?
I do not, Mr. Chair.
No. Anybody in the audience who'd like to? No? Darn.
There's Holly.
Oh, hi, Holly. Good to see you. Hey, new business, new year, and we need to elect our officers. And the positions that we have are chair, vice chair, and secretary. Do we have any nominations for those particular seats?
I nominate Dick Waskin for chair.
Thank you.
Do you need a second? I'll second.
I think is it a voice vote, Ryan?
Yeah, you can do a voice vote on that. Unless there's any discussion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Appreciate
Got
that.
to twist his arm or anything. It's pretty good.
That train had left the station.
You got me at least for one more year. Okay, and for the position of vice chair, I probably say, do we have any volunteers that would be interested? Between the two of you.
I'll be happy to do it if we're lacking volunteers.
Okay,
I nominate Jeff West for vice chair.
I can second that. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
And for secretary, I think we got one already going here, so
I nominate Chris Peterson.
I second that. All in
Aye.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
There we go. Okay, we have our new officers. And Greg, you're next on the agenda to give us an update. Is Greg still up?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Papa's phone.
Oh, Papa's phone. Okay.
Yeah, that's me. Papa's phone. Sorry. Very professional of me. My kids have been calling me Papa for 19 years and I can't change it. So I'm going to be hopping in a car here in just a minute as well. So they'll hear me interrupt for a second. But so following up on our last meeting, we had a conversation about, we reviewed the 2016 plan we did, which was the harbor management plan strategy to manage long-term dredging costs and expenses and other elements. And that included a bunch of different things, including looking both at the supply side of where's the sediment coming for dredging spoils and how do we manage that. So we're sort of, let's minimize the amount of sediment coming in and then figuring out what to do with the sediment when it gets here and so forth. So we looked at those things and if I could just stop for a second, I have to get in the car here real quick. I'll be right back with you. And I'm on a phone call still. So can you hear me still?
Yep.
Very good. So the conversation that we left it with, as we got to the end of the conversation last meeting was developing a strategy for funding. And that could be anything from grant funding and all those sorts of things, which we'll certainly pursue. But there's also going to be a need for local match funding and basically creating a predictable source of funding to help us make this all a reality. So one of the conversations we had, both with the previous study, was that the value of a navigable harbor, navigable water depths in Kalamazoo Lake is a benefit to the entire community, not just the boaters or just the homeowners or the marinas, but every business and every resident, because it drives real estate values, it drives business demand, and drives the economy of all three communities. So the process for establishing a baseline of what that value is, of determining what is the economic value of a navigable waterway, and what would be the value or the impacts on the community's economy if we lost that navigable waterway. In other words, if it just became a body of water you could look at, but the boating essentially dried up. And that is, as we mentioned in the previous study, the simple fact is the Kalamazoo Lake is a natural sediment trap. And without continual human intervention, the natural course of things is for it to sediment in. And it would ultimately be basically a narrower river corridor, not the lake that everybody's grown to know and love. So it has been maintained in its form for well over 100 years and various, like I said, human interventions over that time and funded various ways over the decades. So what we did is we were asked to come up with a strategy. What would an economic impact study that could determine the value of that navigable water so we could have sort of an impartial estimation of, what is this value to the community, to the businesses, to the residents, to the marinas, and that value would vary depending on your presence. It might be, it certainly has value to every resident, but it might be different if that resident has a view of the lake, if that resident is physically on the water, if that resident has deep enough water to put a boat in front of their home, for example. So we asked a market analysis firm that we work with that specializes in valuation of recreational assets. So as opposed to just saying, what's the economic impact of a new building, this firm, it's called Vetter Consulting. The gentleman's name is Christian Vetter, and he helps establish the value of recreational assets like parks and sort of less tangible things like the lake. So I asked him to put together a work plan for what that would look like. And Ryan, have you been able to share what I sent with you with the committee? Has everybody seen that?
Yep, it was in their packet. Yep.
Okay, great. I don't know that I should go through it. I'd hope Ryan, I'd hope that Christian could be with us today to walk through the process. But it's a fairly linear process. If you would look at it, it basically evaluates business income, it evaluates real estate values, it evaluates and would make comparisons between communities that are similar but don't have this asset. And it can also track and do various things in terms of looking at real estate values over time based on water levels and things like that. So rather than me trying to walk you through the entire process, what I would hope we could do perhaps at the next meeting is schedule it so that Christian could attend and could walk through the process and answer your questions specifically. But as a very helpful next step in determining how the value of the waterway affects everybody in the communities at different levels, so that if there is at some point in the future some type of thought of some type of you know uh, uh, an assessment or something, how do we fairly assess the value of that lake and somehow generate a predictable revenue stream to fund the maintenance activities that would keep that lake functioning. And I think it's particularly valuable to note that the last time we really talked about this in great detail was in 2013 at record low waters. And we had worked out, and I think I prepared that in the previous study, very limited dredging to just maintain a navigable depth, basically a river inside a very shallow lake that would allow boaters to get out and keep the marinas open. We were fortunate that the water levels came up and that became less necessary. But the downside to the water levels coming up is that this sort of fell off to the back burner. And we're now at a situation where the water levels are just below long-term record average, or excuse me, the long-term average, not record. We're just below that. The projections, I haven't checked the projections today. We have had a very wet January, so I'm hoping that we might see something move up and give us a little bit more time. But I would suspect that within 5 years, it's a better than even money chance that we're going to need to be thinking about dredging again. And so now is the time to put these things in place so that we have funds, so that while we seek other grant funding, while we seek working with the state and DNR, and Kurt Wemple at DNR about waterways funding for improvements to boat ramps and that putting us in line for assistance with dredge funding, we are always going to need local matching funds. And so that is the purpose of this, is to try to determine that value so that whatever the councils decide to do in the future about determining a funding source, we can at least have a basis of a document that will provide an assessment of an equitable assignment of value to all the different residential types. So I hope that's helpful. I hope you had a chance to read that work plan. I specifically redacted the fees because I would expect if the communities do decide to go forward with this, that you'd probably need to go through an RFP process, which I would generally recommend, and did not want his budget numbers to be out there, which would put him at a disadvantage to other folks. We have to say we're just going to come in just under him or whatever. So he would be one of the people you would certainly be interested in the project, and there are certainly others who may also be equally qualified, and that would be something to look into the future. But I can tell you, the budget was, I'll just say it was under 30,000. So it's not a crazy number. It's not an insignificant number, but it's also not, it's not a six-figure number. That's going to be very, very challenging. So with that, I would open it up to any questions and see if I can be helpful there.
Any questions from? Yes.
I think that's great that we had the proposal there that we could look at. One of the concerns I have is just a length of time between our meetings. So
Mhm.
if we wait, our next meeting would be in 2 months, 3 months? Yeah.
Up to you.
And if that's, then if we make the decision then to do an RFP, then that takes another. So I guess I kind of would like an idea of the time frame that we all feel, if we could. You're saying it's under 30, and we're all going to need to go back to our boards and get approval for the financing. I don't know, does anybody feel we're in the situation where we can say, okay, under a certain amount, we can approve this, or do we have to wait till we get a final? offer? I just want to know kind of how far to stretch this out.
I don't think the township could commit to $10,000 this fiscal year, because we're doing a $1.5 million renovation on the exterior of the building. We have some like serious obligations, so I don't think that commitment can happen this fiscal year.
Okay, is your fiscal year same as ours?
It's the same.
Okay, so we could all wait until next year easily. Okay. Then my second question was, if we do an RFP, I'm a little concerned that this proposal was already out there without having put out the request for an RFP. I don't want people to think he's got to jump on it. So,
I present it as basically, it's his proposed work plan of how it would work. So it's, he wrote it in the form of a proposal, but what often happens is folks would, this is the description of tasks that would be necessary. I think you could, use this as a basis to write an RFP. You might add other tasks and other specific deliverables you'd want to add, and then he would respond to that, as with others. Once you've really taken the time to establish what specifically do we want to have. So the purpose of this was to just give you an outline of one possible approach. There are certainly other strategies that could be used. And so what you might want to do is say, let's define the deliverables, and we can leave the approach up in the air, and create an RFP based on that. So
thank you. That's all I had.
I personally think that it's a great place to start, because if we're looking to be effective in some of the things we're looking to do down the road, there's going to have to be some matching dollars, and to get those matching dollars, we have to get each one of the communities on board, that they'd want to say, yes, we're willing to move forward with this. And to move forward with this, you're going to have to see, well, why? And that would be the reason for the economic impact study, to say, look, the option to do nothing is a pretty blind thing to do going forward. And so I think we have time, to go into the next fiscal year for each, because it is going to be money that has to be put into your budgets. So I guess I would ask, and I'm really happy all managers are here, if you can take this back, to your boards and say, hey, this is what the Kalamazoo Lake Harbor Authority is thinking, and the pathway they're choosing to go down, would you be supportive of this? And if so, then we can put that RFP out there in the future.
I'm just wondering, so I think I kind of get the purpose of it. So the purpose is to understand the economic impact. We do nothing with the harbor. And then it sounds like it might help us understand that some sort of like equitable cost share arrangement in the future. What I guess the piece that I'm missing is like, what are the things that need to be done? And what's the cost? So it's almost like, so let's say we do this economic impact study. We still, so we have that, but we don't know what needs to be done. So there's definitely like a next step. Is the next step actually the first step? Is the first step really understanding what needs to be done? And then maybe that step can be combined with an economic impact study. Because I'm just, what I've seen happen on my 4 years on the Harbor Authority is we start something, and then we put money into it, and then we lose steam, and then we're just kind of left standing there, and then we start over again. So I just want to make sure whatever step we take, we're actually setting ourselves up for a next step. Like, I worry that if we move forward with just an economic impact study, what is the next step? How much time will, lapse between that and the next step? I guess that's, I'm not saying no to this, I'm just saying, what is the next step? Does this make sense chronologically to keep the momentum going?
And I think everybody probably heard from the meeting that Greg spoke, where he, went through the history of where things were at, where there's certain things that had been proposed over the years, and that eventually the Superfund is going to be now focusing. They're working its way, down the river here, and they're going to be coming to us probably not can't say 5, 7 years, but sometime that's going to come. But in the meantime, Greg had said that one of the things we need to do is make sure that we at least have funds. So if we need to at least dredge a channel, like the Keewatin was a blessing for us because RJ in his infinite wisdom and just went ahead and did it, carved out, that channel. And so now there's a good channel for boats, from the marinas to get in and out. And right now, because the water's up, we're not thinking too much about it, but in a few years, we may have to be thinking about it. So we're saying, okay, let's establish the reason. The reason is this is our resource. This is why it's important to everybody economically to get not only the boards on board, but to also get the community as a whole on board, because somewhere we're going to be asking them to help pay for this, and I'm not sure exactly what that mechanism is going to be, but there's going to have to be something, some kind of a tax, some kind of a way to start putting that nest egg aside. So then when we need to do that channel, or we get a grant and we need to do the matching funds, there's a pot of money somewhere that we can tap into. So
I'm assuming that we're talking about things that have not been done before, or please correct me if I'm wrong. And reading this thing that Greg put together here, it seems like there's options besides what I even have seen being done with the dredging.
Mhm.
Are we talking about other things that are more permanent, longer term?
Yeah, and those are the studies that have been out there. The other viable thing that Greg brought up was the idea of a sediment trap.
Right, I was reading about that.
Yeah,
Right.
doing that like at about Schultz Park area there to kind of to stem the flow of the sediment, to slow it down, and then be able to dredge just that sediment trap. Which
So going along with what Daniel was saying, it makes me wonder, like, are our steps in order? Like, is Eagle going to have to be involved with sediment traps and such?
absolutely they will.
And it's like, I love the idea of a economic impact study, because at some point the community needs to know,
Right.
and we've got to be able to educate them thoughtfully and transparently. So that's going to be helpful to be able to say, this is what's going to happen if we do nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly.
And it's going to cost us a lot to do something. So get prepared. But you got to start building up that education and the will for that, I believe.
Exactly. And it's either we start working on it now, or when our pants are on fire and we can't,
Exactly, yeah.
it's, we have to do something, or else then, it's just not a good way to plan for the future.
Hey, Daniel, before you speak, do you mind turning on the mic real quick?
Okay, thank you.
The harbor management plan, sorry to interrupt, but the harbor management plan does outline a series of strategies that you would want to kind of pursue all at once. One of the strategies is to look upstream and work with, say, USDA and the county drain commissioner about minimizing the amount of sediment that's coming into the river by working with the farmers and the landowners, for example. So that's sort of hey, let's plug the hole in the bottom of the boat before we start bailing. Let's stop the amount of sediment, or reduce the amount of sediment coming downstream. So that was one idea. Then the next part is, like we said, that sediment trap, which of the reduced amount of sediment coming down, we can capture a portion of that before it gets into the harbor at a lower cost. And then the next layer to that was looking at reduced cost dredging strategies by working with Eagle to figure out how to do an in-water contained disposal facility. So these are all longer term actions that are going to take time to engineer and time to permit. And there is grant funding available for these types of strategies. You're not the only one facing them, but you're always going to need matching funds to take advantage of those things. And if worst comes to worst, an emergency dredge to take out 10 or 20,000 cubic yards to maintain an access channel is going to be possibly needed. So completely agree that you need a strategy. I think the harbor management plan outlines multiple prongs of approaching this problem, because it is a complicated problem. But it does create a framework to work with all the different directions at once, and look for all different grant funding sources as best we can. So that's our recommendation.
So I guess, I mean, you kind of started to answer or address my concern, Greg, because I guess my concern is whenever you go out, because I think one of the probably like financing strategies is a millage. And whenever you ever go out for a millage, you need to be able to articulate like what the money is going to be spent on, even in the millage language itself, because you might get to a point where your millage language actually does not allow you to spend funds on what you need to spend them on. So it sounds like, Craig, you feel like with the harbor plan, there's enough material in there for projects that we could point to and communicate to the public to make a case for why we need a millage and what that funding will be spent on. That was the
Sure.
piece that's missing in my mind that,
Yeah.
you could do an economic impact study and you could start raising, well, you get to the point where you're looking at financing options, but if you don't have a plan to communicate, people may not get behind it and then you're stuck.
Yeah.
But if you feel like we can leverage that existing harbor management plan, I mean that's something I feel like we could take a closer look at. That kind of like eases some of my initial concerns.
Yeah, I'm not an expert in exactly how you get through that millage process, but we can certainly demonstrate the need. And we can demonstrate that we have multiple strategies that we can pursue to address navigable water depths. Obviously, the intent is to find the most cost-effective one. You could simply say, "Hey, we're going to create a dredge fund, an emergency dredge fund." So at some point in time in the future, if we need to invest 100 or 200, $300,000 into dredging, we have a funding source ready to go and do that. So I would certainly think, I know there's folks out there who can help with that and, frame how we would, you know, I've done more with bonds, for example. I'm not suggesting we do a bond, but the similar thing is there's going to be parameters and limits on what these things can fund and how to set that up and communicate that. But I would use the harbor management plan that we presented last month as the basis, as a point of beginning, and then we can dive into very specific elements that we would say we need funding to do X, Y, and Z, and irrespective of we may not have the exact answer, but we know what we're doing it for, and it's serving this very specific purpose, which is to maintain navigable depths. And I would hope the community would recognize that if we can identify a more cost-effective strategy to achieve the same ends, that would be a better use of public funds than spending more on a dredging strategy. So I think we have enough basis there to take the next steps, and that might be our next action step for my services here, is to work with the right type of counsel who could say, all right, if you wanted to establish a millage, for example, what would be the parameters we have to define clearly to make that a legal use of that type of funds? And I'd be happy to support that activity. I just don't know the right person, but I could certainly do some research. You probably have more people resources than I do in that sense.
Mr. Chairman, I look at it a little bit differently than kind of swapping that, going back on what Daniel said. Because back in 2016, we did the whole harbor thing, and there was the working upstream and then doing the sediment traps and everything. And for me, the goal is the dredging. That's what we should focus on, and that's what all of our money should go to. I think, be nice if it's like you said, this happens and then we lose steam. And going upstream to work with all of those people, everybody's known about that for years, and I don't think anything's been done. The sediment's still coming down just as fast. I'd like to see a concrete thing that we can present to the public and say, this is what we need to do if we want a navigable harbor. And it's the minimum we can do, and then come up with the funding issues. And there's taxes, fees, lawsuits, grants, bonds, millage. I mean, there's a variety of different ways to come up with a certain amount of local funding for the three communities. I think the economic impact study would be great to say, well, this is how much it would bring to us. But for me, again, having been here back in 2016, and we're right back where we were in 2016, I think we need a point on the wall that says, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we have to do it. And the water might go up, the water might go down. We still need to dredge to have a navigable harbor. That's just my feeling on it. So.
Can I make a comment? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, thanks, Holly.
Going on that point, and I'm saying this, I don't know you very well, and I'm sorry, but like, so upriver, we own Potawatomi Marsh. It's 1,400 acres, and the main riverway comes through. And this year alone, we couldn't get boats through, duck boats through. I mean, we had less than a foot of water. You could actually see, you could stand in the water and walk across the riverway. So I agree with your point on dredging should be primary. But I also don't think you want to close that door completely. If there's a way you could survey maybe upriver property owners of their uh, involvement or how they want to get entwined in. What I'm trying to say is you don't want to create an issue where people can't enjoy the entire riverway too, even though Kalamazoo Lake, and this might be more of a Saugatuck Township, and now you're getting into Hamilton. You know, where do you stop is the question. But at the same point, I think it might be worth, if you're looking for investors, if we own a 1,400 acre marsh, those duck club members might want to donate, and they're very well off. I'm just saying, I wouldn't close the door there. In this economic impact study, maybe you go up to the cusp of the township and you cut off there. And maybe you don't. I'm not sure how that looks. I just want to voice my opinion on that, that it it impacts people upriver too, and downriver. It could possibly benefit from those investors if you had private funding.
So I guess I have to come back around and saying, so what, like, I'm going to throw back at the managers because you're the ones who are going to communicate best with your councils. Do you feel comfortable with at least saying that we think the don't want to see downriver, that they would be supportive of starting at a point of doing an economic impact study as a prelude to then now starting to propose very concrete things of what we're going to do and what money we're going to need and how we're going to fund those projects.
I think
I'm
that's a
trying to
good
come to.
point.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I think that's your solidified answer. And I'm not trying to speak on behalf of the managers, but you need to figure out what you need to do, what's it going to cost, and who you need to have fund it. And so then you can determine, A, do the city have the funding? Does township have funding? What do the budgets look like for the next year? What grants do we have for the next year? And then from there, do you need private investors or donors, or not saying a GoFundMe page, but what does the community need to step up to help fund the difference of? With that economic impact study, you could say this is the potential impact to the communities. We need to get X, Y, and Z done because we know water levels are going to come down, and this is our long-term plan.
I'm assuming that, is it a contention here that the dredging is a Band-Aid and an expensive one? Or, because I believe there'll probably be a lot of people in the community that will say the same thing that Chris just said. What's wrong with the dredging?
Mhm.
Because they've seen it, it's happened twice, I think, since I've lived here. So that'll be a hurdle for us to get over if you're looking for a lot more money. I mean, should that be part of the economic impact statement or review? Like, this is what happens if we just continue to dredge when necessary. Because I think that question will come up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like what you're saying is then we go ahead and get the funding for emergency dredging, and then when we need to do it, we have that there. Or,
I mean, I think it's a possibility. I think a lot of people are going to wonder why that's not what we're working on and why we're thinking about all these other things, because they don't have the same information yet, anyway, to know that it's going to cost, the sediment traps and all of that. I mean, that's still just words in my brain at this point. And I know for a lot of people that I live around, it'll be the same.
Mhm.
So,
that was my only suggestion with the dredging, is there's something that we can all focus on. And we can say, this is what happened when the Kawatan came. And look how many years that's worked. And this is an ongoing thing. And if we can, it's better than trying to do the whole thing for 40. So.
I almost feel like, though, to Holly's point, like to have a picture of the whole thing in mind, because I actually got a call last week. I haven't called the person back. I was out, but they live on Silver Lake and they were concerned because they couldn't get their boat out last year. So like, we could end up alienating folks who actually have a stake in the harbor and the river by just focusing on one element. But like, I think it's easier to prioritize elements, but have the bigger picture in mind that like, we're going to get to all of this, but this is how we're going to prioritize it.
Stages.
Stages, exactly. So I think that, we could do both. And I think maybe having both is kind of critical to getting the most people interested and supportive of
Supportive.
these efforts.
That's great. Do the stages, what we need to do right away, then the stages on out, because that would bring it, is Silver Lake in the township?
It's in the township, yeah. Yeah, so essentially after you pass I-196, except for Dick's side, that's, yeah, the north side of that harbor is, yeah, that's the township.
This for you, Dick.
Yeah, and then, yeah, after I-196 bridge is all the township.
Yeah, so identifying all those stakeholders and expanding, broadening that aspect of it is important.
Mhm.
Because I know I wouldn't automatically think of that.
Mm-hmm. And there's DNR actually owns a boat launch in the township at 63rd. So, to say that that's part of the plan, could attract more state attention or like align with more state priorities.
Would it be a good idea? I like that this has options. I'm thinking about our council. And this is a lot for them. A lot of them are voters. They're very well. I mean, I'm gonna say for the most part, most will understand this. But I wonder if we take off, I wonder if we bite off small tasks here. Slow it down just a little bit, not jump into a 30,000. It's not about the money. It's about going back to what Daniel said and basically going back and saying, let's get something for this. Let's do the right thing. I think we need to get through task one first. Figure out what do our communities want to focus on, number one. Not saying that we're not going to get to task two, task three, task one, let's figure out, because you have a lot of good ideas here. Everybody seems to have a wish list of things we want to accomplish, and I think that everything should be heard and important. And this is actually really good conversation because it's giving direction to the KLHA, which is music to my ears. But I think maybe what we do, and I think it'll be a little easier for us and Daniel and Ryan, please weigh in, but to bite off one task right now, bring it to our councils and say, where do you want to go with this? And try to figure out, do you want to spend some money right now on task one, knowing task one is going to lead to another task. I mean, we've got to keep this moving along. We're not stopping at task one, to your point.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, what we need to do is organize what we want to see move forward as three communities, right? And I think that, everybody's saying the same thing here, I think. But I would love to hear from our councils, and I think they would be supportive. I think our council would be very supportive of this. But I think Jeff, I think you and Sue and I would be pleasantly surprised what they would come back and take this task one and how much they could put into this and say, let's take this a little further. Let's bring this in a little bit and probably help Greg even shore this up a little bit more when this RFP or RFQ goes out from the KLHA. And I don't know that, I mean, certainly we could issue an RFP, but professional services agreements work too. That there's nothing wrong with that. This is a specialized project, so we can get, through that easily. It's not circumventing or taking away any other group's opportunity, but Greg has history with this group. Greg has been working with this group, and frankly, I think a professional services agreement, if this group is the right group to work with, well, I think we can make that happen if this is what the board wants to do and make the recommendations. So I don't think there's any problems there. But I think between now and to Chris's point, we shouldn't sit on this. We should take this back
Yep.
to our council and say, look, let's not overwhelm them with task 2 and task 3 just yet. Let's put that aside and say task 1 is where we want to start, because I think between this page, cost benefit analysis, and I think task 1, I think that's more than enough to share with them right now and to say, now, because it kind of explains where task 2 and task 3 are already going to go. But let's make sure these are in line. The thing I would do too, before we go to task 2 and task 3, is I'd pull, you know, State Representative Joey Andrews in, and I would pull others in to say, Joey, before we start to spend more cost on this, do you have some funds available to try to help us get to task 2 and task 3? Because one thing that I am fearful of, and I am hearing consistently, is that money is going to be pulled from the state and federal side right now under this administration. We don't know if we're going to have Superfund. We're going to know if we're going to have dredging money right now for the next couple of years. We're seeing, you know, we're lucky we still have our EPA grant sitting to clean up 200 Blue Star. We have to spend that this year before it gets taken away from us, because it could still get taken away. We don't know what's going to happen. So let's spend this time trying to put this together while things get straightened out in the country. And hopefully we still have some ability to go after some of these grants and funding and things like that. But the one thing they're going to ask for is, where's your community input? Did you guys all, you know, work together on this, and how much, and where's your plan? Because that's what's gonna help us with this grant. We don't have to rush this. It's all gonna still be there. But I think biting this off pieces, but keeping the momentum is probably the smartest thing to do right now. That's just my thought. I don't know if the two of you agree with that.
And it definitely would make it more palatable, like financially. And, you know, I do agree with you that it's perfectly in line with our purchasing policy. This is a professional service. We have history with Greg. Greg believes in this firm, this specialized firm. I don't see why we have to put out an RFP, especially if we're chunking off this first task. I think it also gives the commission or the authority a little more time to process everything, and we might fine tune what direction we want to go in. And there's I mean, there is federal backing for it, but there is the Michigan Coastal Management Program that if we have a more finesse project, we could even apply for that for funding for, maybe it's even a bigger project than this. Maybe it includes these tasks and a little more, and they would pay for 50% of that expenditure. So I think maybe taking the first element, which is, I mean, there's a lot in there, like reviewing existing document review and getting that all in our heads might help us, fine tune the direction we want to go in. And then it might time well for other opportunities where we might even be able to take a bigger leap forward. Because I do wonder, because that's always in my mind, like that Michigan Coastal Management Program, like how can we leverage that? It's a year out for applying.
Love this.
But they would love this. That would really set us up in a strong position, and then we might get more than what we have here for less money.
Yeah, and this is something that opens up the door to the next thing with them pre-planning.
Yeah.
And then the next phase, and then the next phase.
Yeah.
With that Michigan Coast. I just talked to them and did a grant call with them recently, and they like that pre-planning, and they like to stick with projects that started with them.
They do.
Brian?
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. I mean, same thing for us here in the city of Saugatuck. Professional services are subject to competitive bidding, so and for good reason. So, yeah, if kind of breaking this into some smaller bite-sized chunks is more palatable. I think I'm guessing Greg could find out what the cost of just this first task, what that would be, and send us a professional services agreement, and we could review that with everyone and make sure we're all okay with what that price is, and splitting that cost, and at least move forward with that piece, while maybe we're all potentially budgeting for the other tasks in next fiscal year. But I don't see why that work couldn't be done before the end of the fiscal year, assuming the price is right.
I think our city council had our priority meeting a couple weeks ago, and dredging was one of the ones that was voted on positively. So I think the breakdown is a great idea. Task 1, just just keep moving forward. To just keep moving forward, that we have a plan, that it's gonna be there, that we're not gonna just let it slide away, because even if the water gets high or low or something, we have to have a plan in stages. I agree.
So are the city managers, you're all comfortable then to take that back to the councils and,
Yep.
great, okay. I think that's great that, and I like the idea that we're bringing the three on board, at least if we're all sailing down the river together. That all,
So to speak.
so to speak, yeah. Because I mean, we're in a unique position here as the authority, because we have three different communities. We have three different ways that they could go and want to go. So if we bring everybody together, I think that's going to be really important. You know, we're able to have a fire department that can do it. We have a library that can do it. We have a school system that can do it. Don't have a police department that can do it, but but you know, I think we're going to need that. We're just going to need that, or we're not going to be able to go anywhere. So, okay, terrific. Well, thank you. Greg, you still there?
I am. I think that's a great discussion, and we can certainly break it up as needed and provide whatever support anybody needs to talk to their respective councils.
Okay, great. We appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
then, we're gonna go back to our boards, and then if they all agree, then we'll move forward with the Vetter proposal.
Yeah, with
Task one.
Yeah, and Greg will get them to, you know, carve that out for each one to say, okay, here's what that's going to cost.
Okay, good.
Yay. All right.
Yeah, Greg, did you have, I'm sorry, Greg, did you have something to add there?
Nope, that was it. I'm just ready to go, whatever you need. So
Could
nothing
you-
else to add for tonight.
Okay. So we're all on the same call. Could you email then kind of that cost for task one and that agreement to maybe the managers and the chair, and then we can work on getting that in front of our respective
Yep.
bodies.
Yep, I will get that to you tonight or tomorrow. No problem at all.
Well, that's quick. All right. Well, thank you.
So I think we did then under unfinished business, with for goals for 2026, we ended up discussing the economic impact study. We discussed talking about revenue stream. I don't think we have any particular direction right now where we can say we're going to establish this revenue stream this way. And the third goal that we had were something that a little more short term was working with the DNR. They have some money set aside to spend for waterways grants. You know, since I'm the township representative, I had come to their meeting and talked about Hecklander's Landing as a DNR site there that could be funded, you know, and I've been working with Ken Butler from the Parks Commission with the township. He's super duper excited about that. So, you know, that's one project I think that in the short term we can.
So I talked to them and they said that that site is ineligible because we don't own it.
Oh.
You have to, the local unit has to own it. So I talked to the director of the Waterways Grant Program
Yeah.
at the DNR. And I asked him about that site. So I don't know if there was like something lost in translation or something, but he told me that unless the township owned that site, we couldn't apply for a grant for it.
And what was the area? What'd you call it?
What the?
Yeah, what do I describe it
I think
as?
you-
Hecklander's Landing.
Because
Hecklander's, yes, Landing.
yeah. Because I even asked, could the DNR, because in some cases the DNR can apply for funding through their own programs. And he seemed to think that that was not possible either. But he
So-
said that we could communicate with the manager of the site to see if they have any planned improvements. And I think that we could, be encouraging and let them know that, we have interest in seeing improvements of that site, but
Yeah.
we would not be eligible for that grant program for that, for Hacklander.
Okay,
But like something like Union Street that you own, I mean, that would be that was different because Douglas owns the property.
Is anybody gonna try to do anything before the April deadline on those, like with Union Street or anything?
As far as,
Uh, trying to get a grant.
applying with waterways to see.
Apply to a waterways grant.
Right now, and you, again, with the launch right now,
Mhm.
we're making improvements already. We approved, we're putting in a new dock and we have to do rip rap, so we're already budgeted for all of that. So we're doing a lot of work there already in the spring. We're just working with Eagle. Because they're so easy to work with.
So is that on Union Street or is that on Schultz Park? Union Street.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Nice.
we're working on that right now to put some better stuff in there and then fix that cement and then hopefully people don't prop it out again with their big bolts. So
Dan, do you know if Ken has talked with the, I know he was going to schedule a meeting with the manager of the DNR. for
I know
the
that he
site.
was trying to schedule something and reach out. I believe I emailed him the contact of the person who manages the Hacklander site.
Yeah, he had talked to me about it and he asked me if I wanted to join him in that.
Yeah.
I told him I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
So that's why I just didn't know where that.
I don't know if he talked to him yet. I know he's away right now. He's in the Virgin Islands, but I'm not sure if he talked to him, but I did tell Ken that, that site is unfortunately ineligible for grant funding because it's owned by the state.
Got it. Okay. Was not aware.
Yeah, we could purchase it from the state, but then that's a whole bunch of money that we're spending for something that the state already maintains. So I don't know if we want to do
that
that.
issue with Schultz, we own the park, but they own the
The launch.
launch.
Yeah.
So we just maintain it.
Mhm.
The
We'd
state
love
does,
to take it over.
the state owns the launch.
And it's not been easy trying. We want to take that whole thing over, but we haven't been successful
Oh
yet.
my gosh.
I guess a 7-year conversation. So we just maintain it. That's why we can collect launch fees because we can use them towards the maintenance.
Mhm.
But yeah. Fun stuff.
So did you guys make the fix up improvements that have happened with the new pilings and everything?
Yeah.
Looks
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, you did a good job. The DPW did all of that. Yeah, they're very clever. Very clever gentlemen. Did a good job.
Well, then we'll move on to unfinished business B, which was introduce, this is boring part, introduce proposed bylaw changes. We never formally integrated, even though each community did approve of the township joining the harbor committee, it never really got put into our bylaws that the township is now part of that. We have some proposed language here in our packet.
I know.
There it is. Ryan, to go forward with this, I know we have the language, can we actually vote on it at this meeting or we just propose the language and then at our next meeting adopt it?
So you said that the municipalities had already previously kind of signed off on this. So I mean, yeah, my reading of your amending the bylaws is, you have a proposal to amend that's introduced at your regular meeting. You indicate you want to, amend the bylaws. You have to send special written notice to each member of the authority at least 10 days before your next regular meeting, letting them know of the change. So, and then assuming there's no objections, then you could adopt the change at your next regular meeting. So I guess my question would be, and you may not remember this or know this, was that first step kind of already taken and some sort of notice was sent to the municipalities that triggered them saying, yeah, we get this, we're fine with that. So in the case of the city of Saugatuck, we did find some meeting minutes that they were fine with that. So assuming all of those steps have already been taken, I think you could, and the next step was simply that it wasn't, adopted after that, you could take that step. But if you're not sure, then I think you'd want to indicate your intention to make the change. We can do that special written notice to each of the municipalities. They kind of make sure that they don't have any opposition. And then your next meeting, you could make the change.
So are you suggesting that possibly we could go ahead and just adopt the change tonight?
I would say if you're confident that all the municipalities have already agreed to this change previously, which considering they each have put members here and we've been operating this way for some time would seem to mean that that's the case, but
Vote against it.
so,
I'm out of here.
I would say your first two steps seem to have already been taken in one way or another, and maybe you just need to finish that last step. So
All right. Well, then why don't I go ahead and then read the proposed amendment, which should have been in everybody's packet. And then if there's a motion to go ahead and adopt the bylaw change, I'm saying, let's move ahead.
After he reads it.
No.
Oh, secretary reads. Okay, here you go.
No, he said he'll do something after you read it.
Oh, he'll do something after I read. I didn't. Okay. All right. The change would be the Kalamazoo Lake Harbor Authority is a separate legal entity and a public body created by the interlocal agreement entered into by the cities of Village of Douglas, Michigan and Saugatuck, Michigan on November 15th, 2011. And subsequently, Saugatuck Township, Michigan was added to the authority pursuant to Act Number 7 of PA 1967 of the state of Michigan. Here in each of the it should actually read three cities. Three cities shall be referred to as party or city. Okay,
I move that we adopt the proposed
wait,
language.
I think there's a concern.
Well, yeah, I'm just clear. I mean, obviously the township's not a city, so we want to be careful there to, here in maybe each of the three municipalities should be referred to as party, city, or township.
Here in each of the three municipalities shall be referred to as party or city.
And township.
Well, we said three municipalities that would include. Yeah. Everybody good? Do we have a motion?
I move that we adopt the language as read and proposed.
The second.
Okay. Do we need a voice vote or can we just say? Okay. I think it's. I said, okay, well, why don't we do, all in favor? Aye. Okay,
Aye.
adopted.
No, officially.
Yay, thank you.
True.
Your official.
I know, I've been
acting.
acting. Okay, so then, that really takes care of all old business. Reports, committee reports, Douglas Harbor Authority, do we have?
I'm on the Douglas Harbor Authority, but
Oh,
I have
you
not,
are so
I have not
good.
attended a meeting yet.
Won't be until March, so.
I don't think we made it till.
So,
March
so nothing
this
to
spring.
report.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Managers report, Lisa?
I don't have anything to report this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Ryan?
Yeah, just to kind of reiterate Chris Peterson's comments that our city council at their strategic planning session did list kind of mitigating low water impacts as an essential priority for next fiscal year. So it's certainly something that's top of mind there. And I assume unless they make a change tomorrow or Monday, will be on the formal priority list for going into next year as well. Other than that, well, I guess as part of our Maple Streets bid package, we had a number of kind of smaller projects that we lumped in with that bid, and a number of those smaller projects include kind of some repairs at our street ends with seawalls and some cracked concrete along the boardwalk. So some of that work, assuming the council wants to move forward with it, some of the additional cost. You'll likely see some work this spring on some of that too, as it relates to kind of the harbor area. That's all I have.
Could I ask a question? Sure. It's concerning the city. I know that the planning commission has been working on the project that's going to be right on the riverfront there.
Mhm.
Do you know, are they considering seriously keeping the boardwalk along the river open?
Yeah, so the owners of 640 Water Street, the kind of bait and tackle shop
Right.
there. So that property owners proposed a PUD for that property in exchange for some setback reductions. They've offered to basically, at least just on that particular parcel, not 650 to the north, which they also own at this point, but just that 640 Water Street parcel, they proposed to offer a strip of boardwalk there that would be in place in perpetuity. So that would essentially kind of be a piece that's not necessarily formally recognized as public boardwalk and publicly accessible. That would be the case going forward, assuming the PUD is approved. So
Great. That's
Yeah.
nice to know.
A follow-up question, Ryan. What about the charter boats?
So the charter boats are pretty much on the 650 Water Street parcel. They have a lease there. Actually, Ollie just hopped off, but they have a lease there until at least 2027. And in fact, I just sent some correspondence to you all this evening, and it'll probably be part of your discussion tomorrow that those charter fishermen are kind of looking at maybe some other options and where else they might be able to go beyond that point. So at this point, they're set through this summer and next summer, but see what the future holds. Yep.
Daniel?
We have some exciting developments upriver. So we plan to break ground on our River Bluff improvement project late spring, early summer. So that includes bluff stabilization, the construction of a new fishing pier over the marsh boardwalk, invasive species treatment and replanting of native species in the wetland area, an improved accessible entrance to the park. I don't know if anyone's ever been to River Bluff Park. It is a very steep entrance. So now we're going to be doing a switchback. So we're really excited about all those improvements. The majority of the funding is being covered by the natural resource. Oh God, it's a lot of words. Natural Resource Damage Assessment Trustees of the Kalamazoo River, something like that. All those words are thrown in there, but it's legal settlement from historic polluters of the Kalamazoo River. So they've agreed, they've funded all of the work so far, like all the engineering work and the study. And then they're funding $1 million of the improvement with the township committed to 250,000. So that's all starting, probably late spring, early summer. And then the township was recommended for funding in the amount of about $2.4 million to acquire a new 119-acre parcel on the Kalamazoo River with 2,200 feet of frontage just east of Schultz Park. So we're very excited about that project. That's long term. There's, it's gonna take a little while to finalize all the paperwork and everything, but that will eventually be a public park. So we're excited about that.
Quick
Yep.
question, the 2.4 million came from,
The Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund Board as an acquisition project.
And you deserve hearty congratulations for
Yeah,
that.
thank
That's
you.
big. That's
Thank
big.
okay.
I guess we move on to 10, which is public comments. Anybody in the public want to say anything?
Yeah, introduce myself, my name is Bill Kay. Longtime city resident, 8 years ago moved out to the township. I'm a boater, that's my interest. I saw it then on your mailing.
Yep.
Saw that there was a meeting tonight, so I'm here mostly as a curiosity. But I come from a boating perspective. It sounds like most of you are more real estate oriented. I've got over 60 years of experience boating up and down this river, on this lake. I've been in almost every port on the entire Lake Michigan. Saugatuck is probably the most outstanding port, rivaled only by, I'd say, Water and Charlotte Lake. So it's good that you're doing this, that you care about this, that you want to take care of it. I've seen a lot of change, a lot of it not so good. The water levels are just part of it. Right now it's low. I heard some of you mentioned that it's higher right now. It's almost as low as I've ever seen it. It's probably down 4 feet from the high several years ago when Water Street was awash. But it cycles, it goes up and down. It's just one of those natural things that no one's ever been able to explain. But it does. Hopefully with all the snowfall, come up a little bit. But again, I'm coming from a boating perspective. I care about what happens on the water. Like I say, not is all good. I don't know what the harbor authority can do or should do regarding some of the issues on the water, but there are issues and problems on the water, and it'd be nice to see those at least talked about. So anyway, I'm here, as I say, mostly as a curiosity. Never been to your meeting, obviously, and I appreciate what you're doing, and let's hope for for good times coming up.
Well, we really appreciate you coming. And just as far as voters go, just to know, Holly Engel, who is one of our members on the authority, you know, her family is involved with what do I want to say, the fishing, charter fishing.
Yeah, I know
That's
these names.
Yeah, yeah. And so she brings that perspective to us quite a bit. So,
Good.
Yeah.
It's needed.
Yeah.
It's a voting town.
Yes, it is. Well, thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, authority member comments. We start.
Wow. The only thing I was thinking about here is that where are the owners of the marinas as far as this organization, this board is concerned? Because I would have thought they would, maybe I could be naive, but I would have thought they would be really interested in what we're doing, and shouldn't they be here? That's just my thought, so
No,
I
that's.
just want to throw it out there.
I know when RJ was around, he was involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think I don't know much about the new owners of Tower.
It's a hedge fund. They're big bucks and they have access to money. And I think that's a resource that we should be looking at. Yes.
Right. So, Chris?
A wonderful discussion. I really appreciate the input from the city managers because again, I want to have something there that we can focus on and center on and move forward so that we just don't in another 4 years go, oh, you know, we should have done that back. We did it. What I have heard is that there are a lot of boats that they have not made appointments to put them in the water. So they haven't started any of the cleaning them, getting them ready because everybody's so worried about how low the water is. So that could have a huge impact on all of us coming forward if we lose any part of our regular boating crew. So again, good discussion, way to move forward. Welcome to the new members.
I heard there was mention of this harbor management plan. Do we have access to that? Do I have access to this? Is this something we can read or
Yeah,
review?
we have, yeah, there's a link to it, isn't there, that?
Yeah, I can send you a copy of that and a copy of Greg's presentation from last time, and then I'll send you a link to the video from his presentation last month too. To get you up to speed. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem. That's it for me.
Okay, great. As for myself, I think I've been an impatient member of this authority because can we get something done? And I think we are finally. I think we're moving in that direction, and I appreciate especially Lisa's comment to really practically say here how we can start moving this along, and so thank you. Other than that, I think again a good meeting. We've had
And also Sue.
Oh, Sue, I'm sorry. Thank you for are you still there, Sue?
She's muted.
Sue, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, all right. First of all, as a newbie, I guess I am not familiar with all the initials that you all give with the RFP and PRP or all. I'm not familiar with that. And so Lisa, maybe I need to get a meeting with you on the side to talk about the different language that you all use. Also, when it came to the dredging, I guess my question to you, I know you said RJ did the dredging that was all needed. Where does the dredging start and end? And does it go to Douglas and beyond the Blue Star Bridge? Where does it go and how much did it cost last time? And how much would it cost to go east of Douglas? And if what Holly was talking about with the Potawatomi Marsh and all the members that have deep pockets, are all those deep pockets, do they live in the Saugatuck Township? Do they live in Douglas? Do they live in Saugatuck? And again, is that a resource that we can cultivate once we know who they all are? And that's all I got, Dick.
Okay, a lot of questions. As far as the Potawatomi Marsh, I think most of those members are local and have been local. The families have been local for decades on that. So, and Holly would be a great resource for you to discuss further, what their concerns are. As far as dredging goes, the Army Corps of Engineers is responsible for, I believe it starts at about,
Coral Gables.
Coral Gables, yeah, that Coral Gables out to the lake. So they did some emergency dredging for us, the year before last?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it cost about $900,000.
That's, wow.
Oh, okay.
And that was,
Courtesy of the Army Corps of Engineers.
and that was mostly just focusing on the mouth of the river, wasn't
It's
it?
the channel.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
As far as what RJ did, I don't know what those numbers are. I know he probably did it very economically. And he did his spoil site, which is also a big part of what the costs are. He did that. You can see that big green lawns part where all the geese like to go now. That whole thing, that was all the spoils from his dredging there. So yeah, I couldn't tell you what the costs were, but it was extremely helpful, as far as keeping things open. So, anybody else have answers for Sue on that? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. And we welcome you again.
And Sue, an RFP is a request for proposals.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get to the other ones.
Then one last thing, I omitted it from the agenda and should have, is our next meeting. When we want to have that. It sounds like we've taken the pressure off of our April 1st date. Since it doesn't seem like there's going to be a concrete thing that any of the municipalities could bring for a proposed grant, but it'd be good to start thinking about that for next year. So do I have any suggestions from members, and when do you think it would be appropriate to have the next meeting?
Do we have, is it in the bylaws or anything to have?
No.
I read somewhere that we're supposed to do it every third Tuesday. I guess that's arbitrary.
Yeah, we do it. That is our schedule.
Oh, okay.
We changed it this week because every vacations that people are going
Gotcha.
this way and that way. We had proposed doing it on a quarterly basis.
Oh, gotcha.
But we had a few things that we're time sensitive, so we
Pushed
we had a
it.
December meeting and now we're having this meeting. So
So we're gonna be putting our budget meetings are gonna start with our council. We're working on our staff right now, but just throwing it out there, to start prepping for our next budget year. We're right in the middle, starting March, April here. So it's probably not a bad idea if we're going to start figuring this out, if they want to make it a priority now and do amendments, or if they want to move it forward with the task, after June 30th. We need to probably figure that out. So soon.
Yes.
You're
So,
saying March?
yeah,
Not
so,
March.
yeah, I would say March. I think I could certainly get enough input, Jeff and Sue could get enough input from the council to find out, I can start working on this tomorrow and send you and Sue some information. And then get Greg's, numbers on what he thinks it would be for task one for us to divide up. But we would need to start putting that into our budgets as consideration, so soon. So I think we want to get ahead of that because our presentations are going to start to the council soon.
So would that third Tuesday in March be soon enough?
That's St. Patrick's Day.
Uh-oh.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, we can go out drinking after the meeting.
I have no issues with that.
Just wear green.
Right, I'm not
So
everyday St.
does
Patrick's.
that work, Ryan, for you?
It's the actual St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah,
Evidently.
17th.
yeah.
Okay. You might have.
I don't
stuff
like
going
that
on.
date as much, but.
Yeah. Yeah, because we got the pub crawl and
Yeah.
What's the week before?
On the 10th?
that I think would work better.
Okay.
To be
I'll-
honest, because we have a parade and,
There's a lot going on
Yeah.
St. Patrick's Day.
I'll be
Won't be any
gone.
parking.
no,
Aaron goes.
but we're gonna take care of it.
Did you say you're gonna be out of town for that, Ryan?
Yeah, I'll be gone that day. Yeah.
Okay.
Fourth Tuesday?
The 24th? 24th works.
Hey.
Okay.
We can make that, I can make that work, yeah.
24.
You know,
All right.
March 24th at 6.
Fine for me.
So, okay.
Yeah, and we can all start working on that and
Yes.
coordinate between the three of us.
Well, then,
So Ryan has the information.
sounds good. Unless anybody else has any other things to, then I'd say I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'm so moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Bye.
We are adjourned.
Used to having a lot more people to